We're live. Okay, so that wasn't much time at all. So we're almost done here. This is a great book. It's a great. It's complicated. I mean, and yeah, he wrote this book right around the time he translated and did Eugene Onegin, and supposedly like he has no, he also wrote notes to that book, and the notes were a lot about himself, and they're longer than the actual poem in that book too. So, which I found out while I was like studying about this book. So we get to the shortest section, but it has like some interesting details. Is the index. So, in imitation of a scholarly work, Nabokov has Kimba write index entries for people, places, and literary works mentioned in the poem and in his commentary. Almost all the entries carefully note the lines or notes in which the items are mentioned. Only Zembla has no reference numbers. The Zembla entry reads simply Zembla, a distant northern land. So, but in the index, of course, Shade and Kinbote have like the biggest like mentions and stuff. So the index explains some of the oddities. For example, in the comment to line 596, Kimbo suddenly exclaims, "Oh, my sweet Boscobel." The index defines Boscobel as the site of the Royal Summer House, a beautiful piney and dunny spot in West Zembla. The index entry rambles as Kinbote adds Boscobel's soft hollows are imbued with the writer's most amorous recollections. Boscobel is now 1959 a nudist colony, whatever that is. Kinbote also has entries for the principal characters of the story, as well as of many lesser figures. Some of the entries function as miniature narratives, such as one for Greatest Jacob, which concludes with the crowning blunder line 1000. Nabokov also plays some games in the index. The entry for Crown Jewels leads readers into a circle of cross references, just as the Soviet agents in the book hunt fruitlessly for Zembla's crown jewels. The rambling notes and the many references to the commentator's life story made parody Nabokov's own scholarly work. In 1964, Nabokov published a 4-volume English translation with commentary of 19th century Russian writer Alexander Sergeyevich Pushkin's narrative poem Eugene Onegin. It included 2 appendices, one of Pushkin's great grandfather and a 92-page one on a system of prosody Nabokov invented. Prosody here refers to the study of poetry's patterns on rhythm and sound. The work appeared 2 years after the novel Pale Fire, but given its length, Nabokov would have already been working on it before Pale Fire appeared in '62. In his review of Nabokov's translation in '65, critic Edmund Wilson noted this commentary suffers from being overdone. The commentary contained more information than we need about the flora and fauna mentioned in Onegin. He also found Nabokov's appendix on prosody tedious and interminable. Almost all the entries are for Zemblan names and places, thus continuing Kinbote's habit of making his commentary more important than the poem. For example, there is no index entry for 20th century American poet Robert Frost, although he is mentioned in line 426 of Shade's poem. There is an entry for Shade Sybil, but she's given short shrift instead of listing the specific lines where she is mentioned. Kinbote uses the Latin word passum. In scholarship, passum means something is mentioned here and there throughout a work. Moreover, the italicized numbers in the index refer readers not to lines of the poem, but to Shade's comment on those lines. The entry for Greatest concludes with his crowning blunder, line 1000. Greatest is not mentioned in line 1000 of the poem, only in the commentary to line 1000. This is another way in which Kinbote ensures it is the commentator who has the last word. The final entry in the index is very short. Zembla, a distant northern land. This gives the final words of the book a more melancholy ring if the entry had bristled with numbers and references. However, it also gives the impression of being unfinished. Therefore, it parallels the ending of the poem Pale Fire. Shade's poem is in rhymed couplets, but the second half of the final couplet is missing. So the poem ends on an odd number line. Shade's poem ends this way because he was killed. Thus, the unfinished final entry of the index also suggests Kinbote died before completing his work. Some readers and critics believe Kinbote, like Gray, kills himself. Okay, so that's it. That's the index. Oh, okay. It's very short. So yeah, this book. I mean, you have to read. There's a, I mean, and the copy I had a foreword by Richard Rorty too that was good, and I suggest reading that. And then, so the book's four parts again: the introduction, the poem, the commentary, and the index, like a scholarly work. And um, I mean, of some of the books I've read recently, I mean, I find this one and the Metamorphosis by Kafka as being like the most interesting books I've read in a while. And I read this really when I was younger, and I knew who James Joyce and Proust were, but uh, maybe I didn't get a lot of the references as an older person. So there we go. That's Pale Fire. Not sure what I'm doing next, but I'm probably going to do uh, short chapters of book talk for a while, and there you have it. Okay, so definitely give me a like, give me a follow. Go read my commentaries on Ulysses by James Joyce, Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, and go back to the Pale Fire and stuff. And we're gonna read some more books. I mean, next are coming up. Malcolm Lowry and William Faulkner later in the year or early next year. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening.